So we are going through some amazingly different plants. So first we seen the cactus plant, which is the desert plant. Next is your Venus flytrap. So in the name itself we come to know that it traps insects and then eats them. So it is both a producer. A Venus flytrap is both a producer and a carnivore. So a carnivore is an animal that eats other animals, and it is also it resembles even it refers to the Venus flytrap. It gets energy from the sun and transforms it into food. The process of photosynthesis takes place even in the Venus flytrap. So it gets its energy from the sun, and that energy it converts it into food. It also has a very unique feeding habit, as it is dependent on insects for nutrients. Unlike other plants that depend on the roots for its water and minerals, the Venus flytrap depends on other insects for its nutrients. It catches its prey, mainly insects, and traps them in its dead leaves. So a Venus flytrap catches its insects and traps them in its dead leaves. So once an insect is trapped into a Venus flytrap, it cannot escape. Such plants are known as insectivorous plants. So plants that eat other insects are known as insectivorous plants. That's why they are also referred to as a carnivore. So a carnivore is a plant or animal that eats other animals. So examples of Venus flytrap are your sundew and your pitcher plant. So a Venus flytrap is both a producer as well as a carnivore, and it gets energy from the sun and converts that energy into food, and it's known as photosynthesis. It also has a very unique feeding habit. It traps the insects and keeps them between its dead leaves, and it is dependent on insects for its nutrients, and hence they are known as insectivorous plants. Examples are your sundew and your pitcher plant. Moving on to the next is your non-green plants. So normally we see plants that are green in color, and the color green is because of the presence of chlorophyll. But now we are going to see plants that are non-green, that is not green in color. These plants do not have chlorophyll. So only if there is the presence of chlorophyll can a plant have its green color. But in the absence of chlorophyll, a plant does not get its green color. So these plants do not have chlorophyll. These plants are also referred to as fungi. So these plants, the non-green plants, are also known as fungi. They grow on dead and decaying plants. So these non-green plants, that is the fungi, they grow on dead and decaying plants and animals. They also get their food from these dead and decaying living organisms. So these fungi get their food from the dead and decaying plants and animals. The examples are your moles and your mushrooms. So normally you find the moles and mushrooms surviving in damp places or in places where there are dead and decaying plants and animals. So these are the three different types of amazingly different plants. That is your cactus, which is also referred to as your desert plants, which has the presence of spines instead of leaves. The next is your Venus flytrap, which is both a producer as well as a carnivore, and it depends on insects for its nutrients. And the next is your non-green plants. They are non-green plants because of the absence of chlorophyll, and they normally grow on dead and decaying plants and animals, and also they get their food from these dead and decaying living organisms.